IVM.
Hello one, hello all. Welcome to the Diary of the Traveling Professor. And I'm Siddharth Deshmukh, your friendly neighborhood traveling professor, talking right from Scotland. Yeah, from Scotland. So I traveled quite a bit. I mean, I went took a flight from London to Glasgow. From Glasgow, I went ahead to a place called Fort William, which is at the base of the UK's highest mountain, which is Ben Nevis. And from there, after a lot of splendid walking in beautiful weather, Scotland was blessed with a really late summer and is still blessed. I'm still in Scotland. We kind of went from that place to a place called Inverness, wherein I am, and I'll be soon moving to Edinburgh, checking that place out before moving back to London. So yeah, I'm living up to the sobriquet finally after months and months of being grounded. I'm traveling a little bit, hopefully staying safe, and passing on my diary notes to you as and how I see them. Now, this Thursday, what I wanted to speak to you was about working from home. Work from home, work from home. You know, this has impacted the entire world. But it's interesting. Some of us were experiencing work from home for quite some time, especially those in the software development game and especially those who were in the startup software development game, perhaps. Now, interestingly, I experienced this maybe even 15 years back, even 20 years back. And this reminds me of that wonderful statement that the future is already here, but it's only unequally distributed. I'm sure I'm mutilating that statement and I don't even know whom to ascribe it to, but it's a really good statement because what I experienced from, about working from home is what a lot of people working from home are experiencing. Now, there are two camps. Camp number one can't wait to go back to office and start work. Camp number two wants to continue this. Where would companies actually kind of bend to in this new COVID-19 pandemic-based reality? Well, one of the things that is certainly coming out is the costs angle. And companies are beginning to figure out that paying the high rents and associated costs is something that can be totally avoided. Of course, I mean, there are other costs of equipping somebody to work from home. It does cost a bit to the company, but it is still a fraction of the cost that you would pay for renting something out. So a company is certainly looking at not just the efficiency angle of people working from home, because once you stop traveling and once you are at home, it's quite likely that you're going to put in more effort, you're going to take less breaks and the stuff like that. But you're also going to cost the company a little lesser because, a lot lesser if you're going to not be, hanging around in rented offices. Now, that cost angle, that efficiency angle, that productivity angle is certainly balanced with the sobering thought of people working from cramped apartments with their kids doing online school and couples both working on their jobs with poor internet and, on Zoom. And it's come to a place wherein people are sick and tired of their current reality. Of course, some people just totally enjoy it. And the reason why they enjoy it is because they've always enjoyed that solitary aspect of working from home rather than hobnob with people. Those introverts are genuinely basking in the shade, unlike those extroverts who want to bask in the office sunlight. Now, balancing the company's experience, the company also might be experiencing something based upon what the leadership of that company is thinking. So if the leader of that company is a control freak, he or she is going to want to go back to office because, that's where you marshal your troops from and that's where you control things and that's where you know who is slacking off and who is shining and, that whole rah-rah thing. These are people who are driven by their senses. And there will be some amongst us who are exactly like that. And therefore, I believe that every company's decision to whether to go back to work or not will have a lot to do not only with costs, but also on what the leadership feels like. I mean, I know that polling has happened across all employees for various companies, like Google and Microsoft and the rest of it, to find out what employees think. But more often than not, you're going to find the direction gently steered by the leadership team and what they feel about how their culture should be. So then now you have 2 or 3 factors. The employee factor, their hardships or their enjoyment. You have the company and the cost factor, and you have the leadership factor. I'm wondering how it's going to play itself out, but I believe that it's all going to boil down to a couple of things. One is, how long is this pandemic going to continue? Because I believe in the power of inertia. If people get set in their ways and behavior patterns set in, I think there are going to be enough emotional and physical and infrastructure oriented investments made by both companies and employees to actually make this new reality work. So if we are going to see a pandemic oriented lockdown reality for the next year or so, my bet is that offices are not going to be the forces that they were going to be in the first place. The second thing would be, if a vaccine is created and everything goes back to being hunky-dory, and over the next 3 or 4 months, people have the ability to go to offices. Well, now then we have a real choice. And I believe that the choice would be to go back to normal, and that would mean going back to the offices that we have not been visiting. There'll be some companies who will embrace not being in offices. There'll be the startups and there'll be the avant-garde companies of the future, and they will be working with their employees because everyone will be aligned to their new reality, which was triggered off by the COVID-19 pandemic, but they would have done so in any case. So this is how I'm seeing it. I'm wondering how you think this new reality is going to shape up. Are you liking working from home? Or are you like a doctor or an engineer or one of those essential service people who are yet going to their place of work and toiling away? Whatever that toil may be, I hope that you stay safe and I hope that everything's all right. Here's the traveling professor saying hi and bye to you from Scotland. The next entry will be from home in the UK. And until that time, do follow me as Traveling Professor on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And if you like podcasts like these, download the app or go to ivmpodcast.com. Until next time then, have a safe one.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Intel, for supporting us. Great week on the network. If you haven't been listening, why haven't you been listening? You should be listening. Rohan Joshi was on Uncle Please Sit, discussed the toxicity of the Indian pop culture. Really fun conversation to listen to. Rajiv Samant, the founder of Sula Wines, was on Cyrus Says. Again, I think that was a fun conversation. Also want to call out the season finale of Yuddha. Yuddha is our military history podcast. Definitely do check that out. It's a really great listen. And finally, I want to just remind you all that, it's a dark time, but if you need a smile, go check out the Smile India podcast by Shifa Mehta. It's in both English and Hindi, and I think that you will really enjoy the kinds of things that she's talking about there. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Do you have a night routine? Well, everyone has one. And the to-do list usually looks like this. Brush your teeth, set that alarm, get into your pajamas, and switch off those screens. But here's one more to add to that list. Tune into the Positively Unlimited podcast for a dose of positive action and tips on how to build powerful mindsets. Episodes out every Monday on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you tune into podcasts.